All right, Jack, I haven't heard your voice in a while. Let's go to some players that we're looking to trade for right now. Either they have a great schedule coming up and win now mode for teams, or they have some pretty nice playoff schedules.
So whenever a receiver gets 20 targets, it happens to turn my head. That's what happened with Cooper Kupp 2 weeks ago. And he had 20 targets. He only caught 11 of them, but the guy is turning into, well, he's been the number one receiver in that Rams offense for a while, but him and Robert Woods seem to split games where one has a good game, one has a bad game, and it's either Robert Woods or it's Cooper Kupp, and Woods has been a little bit better this year, but it's been pretty even so far, as it is every single year with those two Rams receivers. I think Cooper Kupp, though, looking at the rest of the year, could probably transform into that number one and be an absolute stud the rest of the year. You look at his schedule, he still has the Seahawks twice, one of those coming in week 16, which is the championship of most leagues. He has the Jets in week 15, which is a playoff matchup. He also has the Cardinals still. And he has some tough games mixed in between there, Bucks, Niners, Patriots. But overall, if you have the Seahawks twice left on your schedule and you still have to play the Jets and you still have to play the Cardinals in the last 6-7 weeks of the fantasy season, that's a scary good schedule for Cooper Kupp, especially. And I was trying to make a point there that he got 20 targets in 2 weeks ago. That's an insane amount of targets. Jared Goff is obviously looking for him. They're trying to get him more incorporated into this offense because there were a couple weeks where he faded away. But he's back in this offense. They're trying to get him the ball. Cooper Kupp got him the ball. Jared Goff got Cooper Kupp the ball. And I think from here on out, he's going to be a pretty solid play. And I love the schedule. I just absolutely love Cooper Kupp's schedule the rest of the way.
Jack, funny enough, Lucas, I'll let you go in a second here, but I can kind of bounce my player that I would trade for right now right off of yours because mine's Robert Woods. Very similar to the reasons that you just said. The schedule is fantastic for wide receivers. What I'll say about Robert Woods is this. When you look at his receptions over the past 3 weeks, 37, or is that 4 weeks? It might be 4 weeks. 37. Ranks 5th in yards after the catch and 8th in total touchdowns at the position. Also, pretty underrated part of Robert Woods' game, he leads all receivers with 108 rushing yards, similar to a Brandon Ayuk or Chase Claypool. Listen, it's just another aspect of his game to get involved with. I love the Cooper Kupp pick, though. Honestly, I think if you could get either of these two guys, I mean, PPR, Robert Woods was wide receiver 3 against Miami right before the bye week. It's pretty easy to get guys coming off the bye week. People forget the production that they had before that. So if you could trade, gosh, I don't even know, maybe an RB2, I doubt you could trade a Gurley for a Woods or a Kupp. You might have to add in another wide receiver there.
I bet you could. I bet you could for Woods in particular.
You think so?
I bet you could get. Yeah, I do. Legitimately, I mean, you look at Gurley's point total. His point total all season has been solid, and we know that's inflated because of the amount of touchdowns that he's had, especially recently. But I think Gurley's an RB2, and we talk about positional value. Running backs have more value than wide receivers just because there are fewer good ones. I absolutely think you could trade Gurley for a Woods or maybe even a Kupp.
Yeah, I mean, if you could somehow flip Mike Evans and a lower tier running back, maybe like a J.K. Dobbins, a Phillip Lindsay for Woods or for Kupp, I think that's your best bet. But Lucas,
that would be insane.
What were you saying?
So I said that would be insane if you could manage to do that. But so first on my list is Derrick Henry, and I don't really want that to be my player. I want to go with someone more obscure. I just want to touch on why you should trade for Derrick Henry. And I'm not talking trade for – oh, no, wait, never mind. It's the trade deadline, so you'd have to trade for him this week. Derrick Henry has a tough schedule the next 3 weeks, but his playoff schedule is off the charts. So Derrick Henry – and plus Derrick Henry is big and very hard to tackle, and the later in the season it gets – the better Derrick Henry will get because NFL players get tired, they get beat up, they get hurt, backups come in, and all of those guys are going to struggle more to tackle Derrick Henry. That's why he was so good in the back half of the season last season, and that's why I expect him to be good in the front half of the season. I see a guy bring up Adam Thielen right here in the chat. Richard, I see you bring up Adam Thielen, and you're reading my mind. You must be reading my mind because my guy to trade for, my first one, is Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen has been bad these last 2 weeks. Flat out bad. But it's because they've been Dalvin Cook games. He's gotten 5 targets and 4 targets in the last 2 games. But you know what? Justin Jefferson has only gotten 4 targets in the last 2 games as well, 4 in each game. they're just not throwing the ball because Dalvin Cook is going off. Dalvin Cook is not going to go off every game, and Adam Thielen is still going to be a target hog in that offense. If you want to trade for Adam Thielen, now is the time. Richard, I don't know if I would trade Adam Thielen right now. I think you would be trading him decently low. I'm not sure if you could get for him what you should. But if you're someone out there wanting to trade for an Adam Thielen, I think that'd be a good.
I think if you're looking to trade Thielen, a possible scenario, at least for running backs, gosh, I hate selling low, but I understand this might be the only opportunity to do that. Maybe Deandre Swift. I mean, I have him as a top 15 running back right now. I think
Deandre Swift, I like him a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are still sleeping on him because he just had that one down game against the Colts. But
I think you could still get Swift plus a wide receiver 3 for Thielen, like a Swift plus
that'd be great.
A Jerry Jeudy, yeah, exactly.
I'll take a Swift and I'll raise you a few spots here. What if you did Adam Thielen for Ezekiel Elliott straight up? Do you think that's a trade that goes through? And if you have Thielen, do you do that trade?
Funny enough, I traded Aaron Jones to get those two. So I think those two are kind of equal in value right now. And I know we were talking about possibly trading away Zeke, even though I don't like trading low. But, Dalton will be back soon enough. I don't think Garrett Gilbert is
Garrett Gilbert was solid, too.
I highly doubt that they're going to keep him at quarterback for the rest of the season. I think Dalton will be back. They're starting to get pieces of their offensive line back. And Zeke, when he's healthy, when he's playing, he's in line for 20-plus touches. And I love that guaranteed production. So, yes, I realistically think you could get Zeke straight up for Adam Thielen right now.
I think it's possible.
Question is, would you do it? I think I would. If I needed a running back that badly.
Yeah, I mean, if I needed a running back, especially high upside, I mean, Zeke's obviously got high upside. It's just part of the problem is he hasn't found the end zone the past several weeks, and part of the problem is there's a bad offensive line. So, I mean, you add a touchdown onto any of his past several weeks, and it's a solid performance. The issue is he's just not finding that end zone. He will find the end zone again. Like, that's not a question of if that happens. It's a question of when, absolutely. They're going to get – I have no doubt in my mind that the Cowboys will be better because, I mean, I don't know if they could actually get worse because they're so bad right now. So, Zeke, if you need a running back, I wouldn't hate that. I absolutely wouldn't hate that if you could get that. But overall, if we're just talking equal, who would I rather have at this moment? Probably.
All right. Moving on here to another player that I'm looking to trade for. I don't know if this would be entirely possible just based on maybe the landscape of your league. But the tight end position, said this a million times as well, it's a wasteland at times. There are very few guys that you can trust week in and week out. But if you have one of those select few, I think you feel very comfortable just piecing together the rest of your roster around those guys. I think when we look at drafts going into the future, just like years ahead of now, I think we have to start to value those top tight ends at a way more premium position and value than what we did this coming year. Travis Kelsey is a wide receiver 1. Like if he's more of a wide receiver 1 than Tyreek Hill, I'll be honest.
Yeah,
he gets
absolutely.
the looks, he gets the receptions, he gets the touchdowns. And if you're getting like the wide receiver 1 for the Chiefs, you'll take that in the first round. But there are leagues where Kelsey fell to the third.
That's, I have 2 leagues where I have Travis Kelsey. I got him in the 3rd round in both of those leagues because I couldn't pass up on him at that point. I am winning both of those leagues right now. And I think it's absolutely because of Travis Kelsey. It's absolutely because of Travis Kelsey because I am getting to start a wide receiver 1 as a tight end when there are, you can count the number of guys, tight ends on your one hand who would fall in the wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 category. I think Travis Kelsey is probably the only wide receiver 1. Darren Waller, TJ Hawkinson, maybe Noah Fant when he's healthy, fall in the wide receiver 2 category. But aside from that, you're kind of looking at an inconsistent boomer bust wasteland. And getting to start Travis Kelsey there every single week is such a positional.
Lucas, you stepped on my toes there.
I know. I'm sorry, Shane. You say Travis Kelsey, and I'm so excited. I just can't.
You just name every good tight end there is. I'm going to hit on one of them that you said that I think, based on his schedule for the rest of the season, based on his production that we've seen so far, is the most logical tight end to go after. and that's TJ Hawkinson. If you look at the numbers this season, his snap percentage, which you wouldn't really look for in a tight end, but just to note, it's only gone up. It's only gone up to the 80 percentile. You look at where he's finished in terms of points in PPR. He's had 2 games where he had 9.3 and 9.7. That was the lowest. That was the lowest that Hawkinson has had this season. Everything else is 15, 14, 17, 16. It's fantastic numbers. He scored a touchdown last week with Chase Daniel at quarterback and not Matt Stafford. So if for some reason Stafford were to miss time, I wouldn't even be worried if Daniel was starting because Hawkinson is that team's go-to guy, especially right now where we're at the point where Galladay's hurt. We don't know when he's going to be healthy again. We don't know when he's going to come back. TJ Hawkinson is the go-to guy in this offense, and I would put him, I had him as my tight end 1 this week, 1 overall. He was my number 1 ranked tight end. He's been so consistent. I know Darren Waller's in that category too. Noah Fant is up there. I think we're going to see Austin Hooper start to rise up the ranks. But TJ Hawkinson has been fantastic, and I think if you have the opportunity to trade Mark Andrews somehow straight up for him, maybe you add in something else with Mark Andrews like a Hollywood Brown, I think you do it.
Yeah, Mark Andrews is actually one of the guys on my, trade away. I had a longer list of trade aways. Mark Andrews was one of the guys on there. Mark Andrews just has not been producing. I want to hop in here, Jack. I know it's probably your turn. You're talking about tight end, Shane, because the next guy that I want to hit on is a tight end coming out of Philadelphia, Dallas Goddard. Dallas Goddard was horrendous before the bye week, just absolutely awful. But the first 2 weeks of the season before he got hurt, and this is with Zach Ertz healthy, 9 targets, 8 targets. In Philadelphia, they love to use their tight ends, and they love Dallas Goddard. With Zach Ertz out, especially with Zach Ertz out, I expect Dallas Goddard to be a tight end 1. Even with Zach Ertz back, I think he could stay a tight end 1, and you could get him for dirt cheap. At this point, you could probably pick him up off your waiver wire in a lot of leagues at this point. I mean, you're looking at he's only 48.8% rostered in ESPN leagues. Over half of you guys could pick him up from off your waiver wires. That's going to be highway robbery. I guarantee it. Dallas Goddard is a guy who has to be owned in every single league. He is going to produce.
Jack, you may now.
Thank you. All right. So my next guy that I'm going with, it's actually another receiver who we hit on earlier, who has a great schedule. It's T. Higgins. The guy has been so consistent and so good. I'm loving him the rest of the year. He also he's a deep ball receiver. He gets in the end zone. He does everything well, and that's encouraging for me. I like T. Higgins the rest of the year. I'm going to keep on sticking with T. Higgins in my lineup. And, I mean, he's a sleeper guy who can really break out here. And he still doesn't have the big name. But the thing I'm realizing with T. Higgins is the people that are really liking T. Higgins are the people that already own him because he's gone so under the radar as the second or third receiver there in Cincinnati that if you don't own T. Higgins, you're kind of out of the loop on him. But I think right now he's been absolutely fantastic. The production's there. The 2 Pittsburgh games that he still has coming up, especially the way Joe Burrow has played against tough defenses, they concern me a little bit. But still, I think Higgins is a good guy to go add to your roster at this point. Because we hit on Higgins earlier, I'll hit on one more guy as well. That is from the running back position. So Nick Chubb right now, he's another guy we hit on earlier. If you're going out to go get somebody, Nick Chubb he's going to be good, and his schedule's awesome. I like Nick Chubb as well the rest of the season, and he's been hurt, so people are a little bit lower on him. Still, Nick Chubb's schedule the rest of the year is pretty great. Gosh darn great.
Nick Chubb and Austin Eckler are 2 guys that, you could go for. Chubb, because his schedule is great, and, Kevin Stefanski really likes to run the ball, so Chubb is going to be quite good. Eckler, because, and this is only if you're in a very solid position, which is how I was in one of my leagues. Eckler, it's still a bit of a question mark on if he'll be back at all. I think that might be overblown. I think I'm not concerned about Eckler being back. It's looking like a week 12 comeback is possible for Eckler, and that's obviously 2 weeks before playoffs, which is when you would really need him. But if the team that has Eckler is really struggling, they would probably be willing to sell him pretty cheap. I know I got Eckler and DJ Chark for David Montgomery. That's all I gave up for them in a league where I'm really set. So if you could get a deal like that for Austin Eckler, when playoff time comes around, you're going to be set.